New tonight at 6 o'clock, the suspect arrested in connection with the murder of Chicago police officer Luis Huesca is officially charged.
NBC5's investigative reporter Bennett Haberly joining us now with what he's uncovered in the case. This is a huge arrest, Bennett.
It is. Stephen and Allison, a lot of attention on this case. Chicago police announcing this afternoon that Xavier Tate Jr. faces first-degree murder charges along with aggravated vehicular hijacking and possession of a stolen firearm. We've also learned from a neighbor that Tate was seen around that suburban complex prior to his arrest and reportedly spent time out of state before returning to Illinois. Video captured by a neighbor shows the arrest of 22-year-old Xavier Tate Jr. Wednesday at an apartment complex in Glendale Heights. In the video, Tate is flanked by officers as he's led away into a car. Law enforcement sources tell NBC5 when officers entered the apartment, Tate was hiding under a sink.
And asked me that I know a certain person. At first, I couldn't identify the picture because I did not know who it was. Then they showed me a different picture, and I seen like the hair, kind of recognized who it was.
This neighbor said he saw Tate around the complex a few weeks ago. Tate's arrest came 10 days after the April 21st shooting death of Chicago police officer Luis Huesca. The 6-year officer was shot and killed in Gage Park while returning home from his shift. His SUV and service weapon were stolen. The day after, on April 22nd, Chicago police released surveillance images of a person they later identified as Tate, showing him walking around the area both before the shooting and nearly an hour afterwards. On April 26, Chicago police continued the investigation into Huesca's murder at this brick house in Morgan Park. There, court records show an officer conducting covert surveillance noticed a man later identified as Cassius Tate tossing a gun over the fence into the yard next door. Officers recovered that gun, which turned out to be Officer Huesca's service weapon. Police arrested Cassius Tate. He also faces a burglary charge stemming from an incident on April 19th. Surveillance video shows a break-in at a Rickton Park convenience store where 2 men are seen pushing an ATM out the door. Xavier Tate, meanwhile, missed a court date on a criminal trespassing charge stemming from March. He's accused of trying to get into a rental property in Olympia Fields.
We know for a period of time he was in the state of Iowa, actually in the city of Dubuque, Iowa. He was under surveillance, and then when he came back to Illinois and the decision was made to take him into custody, the U.S. Marshals were involved in that, and they're good at two things. They're good at finding a fugitive, and they're equally good at putting back together where he was hiding.
Alderman Brian Hopkins, who chairs the Public Safety Committee, said the state's attorney's office is likely moving carefully in handling Tate's case because it involves a high-profile death of a Chicago police officer.
For all of us who were at the memorial service for the officer, talked to his family, he wasn't just a good cop, he was a good man. He was a young man with his entire life ahead of him.
A news conference is expected tomorrow involving Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling, Mayor Brandon Johnson, and State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Tate is also expected to make his first court appearance on these formal charges. Allison and Stephen.
Bennett, thank you very much.
So we start with that new information about the murder of Officer Huesca. It was just this morning. The main suspect in the case is about to go to court for the first time. And just within the last hour, police released many new details about what led them to Xavier Tate Jr. Our Sandra Torres was in the room as police laid out that search for Tate. She's joining us live at Chicago Police Headquarters. Sandra?
That's right, Alex, and we learned from detectives that they were able to ID the suspect, Xavier Tate Jr., soon after he allegedly shot and killed Officer Luis Huesca. This after he used a debit card from a relative at a convenience store near the scene, and that led to a multi-state manhunt where detectives tracked him not only in Madison, Wisconsin, Dubuque, Iowa, but then ultimately in Glendale Heights, where he was finally arrested.
Removing this individual from the street does not only bring justice to the family, the Huesca family, it also ensures the public that he will not have the opportunity to commit the same offense on anyone else in our society.
And Tate Jr. was arrested in an apartment in suburban Glendale Heights on Wednesday. Witnesses captured that moment when police officers led him into a squad car. The superintendent confirmed this morning that Tate Jr. was taken into custody with Officer Huesca's handcuffs. Law enforcement sources also tell NBC5 that they found him hiding under a sink. Now, police said this morning that an individual who lived in that apartment has been charged with concealing a fugitive in DuPage County. although he has not been identified yet. Tate Jr. was on the run for 10 days, and this morning the chief of detectives clarified what they determined in terms of what may have led Tate Jr. to shoot and kill Officer Huesca.
What this investigation showed is through the very exacting work, I again really want to emphasize that they recovered video from 90 different locations, and with businesses and community members supporting us, is that we are able to track Tate's movements well before the encounter when Officer Huesca was returning from his tour of duty. So at this point, we don't have any information that is leading us to believe that he specifically was targeted, but that we believe that Tate was in that area walking around when he committed this offense as he came upon Officer Huesca parking his vehicle.
The chief of detectives also said the technology in the city was instrumental in helping develop leads in this investigation. They not only have ballistic evidence, but also DNA evidence they say proves that Xavier Tate Jr. is the person who shot and killed Officer Huesca. And Xavier Tate Jr. is scheduled to have his first court appearance coming up in about 30 minutes at the Cook County Criminal Courthouse. Our Charlie Wachowski is there following developments. He'll have the latest in our afternoon newscasts.
Today we have new details in the death of Chicago police officer Luis Huesca. Today, Huesca's family was face to face with him as that suspect as he appeared in court for the very first time. Charlie Wachowski's here now with more on what they said afterward.
Well, Marion, Alex, it was an emotional scene with Officer Huesca's family remaining strong while surrounded by hundreds of police officers and cadets, all of them who came to the Layton courthouse to support the family and seek justice for the fallen officer. A rare sight at 26th and California. Busloads of cadets filling the courtroom where the family of Luis Huesca sat only feet away from his accused killer, Xavier Tate Jr.
I hope my brother gets that justice that he deserves.
In court, prosecutors laid out the case against Tate, saying he was on the lookout the night of the murder, looking for someone's car he could steal. In the meantime, he captured on surveillance video cameras throughout the Gage Park neighborhood. They say he confronted Huesca, shooting him in the face, chest, arms, and thighs. 10 shell casings were recovered at the scene, all of them with Tate's DNA on them. He then made off with the car, dropping it a short time later. Prosecutors then say Tate made his way home, walking, stealing a bike, and taking an Uber. Almost all of it recorded by surveillance cameras.
The video surveillance and electronic surveillance of this offender and the dogged determination to bring some justice to this family is why we're here today.
Prosecutors say Tate then left town, making his way to Dubuque, Iowa, and Madison, Wisconsin, tracked by his mother's electronic balance transfer card, before hiding out where he was arrested in Glendale Heights. Also today, DuPage County authorities announced charges against Malik Murphy. He's the man they say aided Tate while he sheltered him in Glendale Heights. Huesca's mother fought back her emotions while she thanked everyone for their support of her family.
We are very sad. I can say my son was a good police officer, a good son, a good brother, a good example, because nobody can say anything different.
Calling him a danger to the community and a flight risk, Judge Mary Kay Marubio ordered Tate detained until his next court hearing. On top of these murder and gun charges, Tate is already facing resisting arrest and trespassing cases in 2 different counties on top of a juvenile adjudication for a gun arrest. It was because of that arrest that the DNA was in the FBI's CODIS database, and that could be used to track him down. Alex, Marion.
Really interesting details, Charlie. Thank you so much.